This morning we have a new episode of STEM City, and it's focused on the sport of golf. Dr. Durrani, host of STEM City, is here with us. This is really exciting. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, so I started playing golf when I was in middle school. My first job was in golf in high school.
Wow.
And so I'm addicted to golf, and I was like, okay, there's so many parallels I can see. We have to make an episode, and we incorporate medicine, turf sciences, technology all into this episode around what a lot of times people think is a simple game, golf, right? But so many layers and so many aspects of STEM involved.
Okay, let's take a look.
Golf is a sport that's been exploding in popularity the last few years. And in Houston, we're lucky to have a major championship here in town, tons of youth programs that support STEM education through the game of golf, and just year-round weather where we could play every day. So we decided, let's explore the STEM careers that power the game of golf here in Houston. Chris, thanks for joining us. We're here at the first major of the year, and we're exploring the various STEM aspects of the sport of golf and what happens here.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of representing the medical side of things. So tell me who you are and what you do here.
So my name's Chris Wicker, and I've been with the LPGA now for 12 years. And our job on a week-to-week basis is to assist the athletes with anything they need from a medical standpoint. I'm trained as a physical therapist, so more of my role there is addressing some injuries that might have happened in weeks prior, or if an athlete necessarily has some tightness or complaining of any sort of pain going into that week. If it's a little bit more serious where they need to see a physician, we help to assist that route. And then if it's something as simple as being sick, get them to the physician to maybe get some medication for the week to help kind of prepare them to play. We might see them first thing in the morning, or if they're done. It really varies on a day-to-day.
Really cool. I think one of the things that has been unique to see, I'm in the medical field, is that almost all sports, including golf, are taking a better kind of preventative approach to injuries and whatnot. Tell me about that kind of side of things and what you've seen throughout your career and how things have changed.
Yeah, and I think with golf especially, you've seen more of this kind of athlete phenomenon over the last couple years. I think you can attribute that back to when Tiger first came on and how he was really big into strengthening and building and working on his body. And I think you've seen the trickle down of that, where more and more of the golfers now are taking a more active role, whether it be training or just managing. And now what's become very kind of familiar is the recovery aspect of things. When people are done, trying to maximize kind of their fitness levels and try to be ready for that next day, whether it be using recovery boots, cold plunges, what have you, to kind of really maximize, keep their energy up for an entire week.
Yeah, really unique to kind of see that from an outsider's perspective. I'm guessing there's a bunch of kids probably watching saying, hey, I want your job. So tell me about what your path looked like. Where'd you go to school? What did the training look like? How long was it? Some of those things.
So I actually have my undergrad in sociology.
Okay.
And then after that, I was actually playing college lacrosse, so I was always injured at points in time. And then I just happened to have an assistant coach that was going to PT school at that time when I was in college, so I thought that was kind of interesting. So after getting my undergrad, I kind of applied and ended up going to grad school at the University of St. Augustine in Florida, and got my master's in occupational therapy and went on and got my doctorate in physical therapy. All in all, it was about 7 years of college work and then internships after that. Then I kind of worked in a clinic over the last 20 years, and like I had said prior, working on tour for the last 12.
One kind of final question, it's a challenging road. I imagine you had some obstacles on your journey. What did you personally do that you could share that got you through those challenges, looking back in hindsight?
Yeah, I think it's just always learning.
Yeah.
I think you can never be complacent to what you have. I mean, you're never going to be the smartest person in the room, and it's not being afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what you do, there's always an aspect of learning to it, and if you're always seeking out and trying to get better, it's only going to help you down the road.
Awesome. Well, super exciting week here. Thanks so much for joining us, and can't wait to see the athletes that you help do what they do this week.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. see a lot of equipment around us, and this is basically an equipment trailer. Would you say that's accurate?
Correct. This is a customized van made for the specifics of the LPGA Tour. There's not another one like it literally in the world.
Yeah.
And it is built to make sure that we can provide all of the club services, everything that a player needs for their golf club, which includes a lot. So we do everything from loft lies to reshafting to building a new driver, building new irons. That's just to name a few.
The thing that's really cool is like basketball, for example. Everyone uses the same basketball, but golf, that's not the case. You have different, like you said, shafts and weights and whatnot. I'm seeing like numbers on all of these things around me.
Yes.
Tell me about the mat that goes into, you know, customizing a club for an athlete.
Well, you know what? And you're right. Every athlete does have a certain spec. We call those specs, specifications of a golf club. A golf club is about angles and math. They have certain lengths. They have certain lie angles. They have certain loft angles. So we're talking about numbers. And every grip, every shaft, every head has a certain weight. So we talk about grams. And when you put the three components of a golf club together, whether the golf head, the club head, the golf shaft, and the golf grip, every one of those specifics, those components have a certain spec to that has to match the other two. So there's a lot of art that goes to it. There's a lot of science, more science, and then finishing up is the artistic end.
And if I understand correctly, so basically you put together a club, they go out there and they have all types of radar technologies and whatnot.
Correct.
They get numbers from that, and then they may be like, hey, I don't like the speed or the launch angle or something. Then they come back to you and work with you to try to kind of fine tune that. Is that an accurate?
That's very accurate, and you know what? A lot of times they have radars to take care of those numbers. But sometimes they'll tell us based on their feel or visual flight of the golf ball. Sometimes it takes more precedent over a radar. But we take both into consideration, and they come back. So based on their feedback through our experience that we've had working with golf clubs and fitting players over the years, we're able to fine tune that golf club based on their feedback.
We've gone through a variety of STEM careers when it comes to golf. We've got one more left, and this one might be my favorite. Turf management. That's why I'm on a John Deere tractor and golf courses. Let's talk with Johnny. Well, Johnny, so nice to meet you. We've been trying to find various angles when it comes to STEM in the sport of golf, and I think we found maybe my favorite one yet. So you are, I don't want to mess this up, from the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America.
That is correct.
Tell me what you do and how you got here.
Super. I was a golf course superintendent myself, and that is the person that's in charge of everything on a golf course that needs water, fertilizer, sunshine.
Okay.
So all the grasses, all the plants, the golf course superintendent is in charge of that. We don't have a 4-hour show today, so I'm going to give you just one aspect of what it's like for one of the most important parts of a golf course is the golf green. The grass on the greens, in most cases, if you were to lay a dime on a tabletop and look how thin that dime is, the grass is usually shorter than that.
Oh, wow.
We mow the grass, especially for a tournament like this Chevron LPGA event, at 1/100th of an inch or less. So it's extremely tight grass. So we're asking the grass to do something that it probably isn't designed to do. So we have to make sure that all the other components are in good shape. And one of the things we want is we want to be able to get water on a green for the irrigation purposes that the plant needs, but we don't want the water to sit there. So if we take a look, the way the soil drains through this profile is there is a lot of pore space in sand. So water goes through this very fast.
Okay.
But if it all went away real fast, then there wouldn't be anything for the plant to use. So when it gets to this gravel layer, this is what we call a perched water table effect.
Okay.
Can you see how big the air spaces are with the gravel? The water that's in here has to get what we call to filled capacity before any of it wants to move into these larger pores.
Okay.
So the water comes in, it goes through, it collects down here. We want long roots. Long roots make for healthier plants.
Okay.
So now the water is down here 10 to 12 inches from the surface. And now now we have water available here. Now, once these pore spaces fill up with water, then it goes into a drain line and it moves it off under the surface of the green.
Wow.
So we can put water on, control how much water is necessary. We use tools like this, which is a moisture meter.
Okay.
You can see it has 2 probes.
Yeah.
And we go in about 1 inch to 2 inches deep into the green.
Okay.
And through conductivity, it will give us a number of what the moisture content is in the soil.
Okay.
And it varies from golf to golf course.
Yeah.
But what we want to see is a lower number in 18%, maybe as high as 25%.
Yeah.
Usually on a big championship like this, we want to keep the moisture levels below 20%.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for spending some time with us. As I kind of mentioned, never thought about this stuff, but now that the next time I'm playing golf, I'll be thinking of you and the stuff that your organization does to make those greens smooth and, you know, hopefully a few more birdies for me.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time today.
Thank you so much. As part of our journey in exploring technology and STEM careers in the game of golf, we're here at the PGA Tour's Houston Open to talk to the PGA Tour's ShotLink staff to figure out what ShotLink is, how it collects data, and how it makes the game of golf accessible to everyone. Donnie, thanks so much for sitting down with me. As a golf nerd, this is like surreal being inside the ShotLink trailer, talking to the man who kind of manages everything with ShotLink here on the ground. So tell me, just kind of beginning, what your role is here with the PGA Tour, and we'll start there.
So I serve as Vice President of ShotLink Operations. It's a little broader. It's tournament operations, but most of what I focus on is ShotLink because it is the largest part of our on-site execution.
Obviously, when we're sitting at home watching any sports, stats is a huge, huge part of that.
Absolutely.
And with the PGA Tour, ShotLink makes that possible. So tell me just kind of briefly an overview of what that program is.
So basically, ShotLink is our capture of every shot of every player every week for every round. I mean, and each of those shots are captured and distributed to the world real time, which is why we call it live scoring. So each week we're out to literally every time a ball comes to rest, 10 seconds after that ball comes to rest, that data is distributed real time to the end users, which are from the average fan watching on PGAtour.com, gamers who are either gaming or gambling, as well as our downstream constituents, which are some course architects, players, and their coaches actually use the data as well.
And the cool thing is that it is we're in a trailer. There's a few of these, and it's mobile, right? It goes from city to city wherever the PGA Tour goes.
Yeah, ShotLink is I call it itinerant.
Yeah.
But what happens is compared to the other sports where you've got an arena or a stadium where you know the competition is going to be held, our stadiums are in a different city every week, and this equipment has to be set up, struck down, transported, and staged again.
And you mentioned that obviously there's numerous uses for this data. When I'm sitting at home watching the PGA Tour, some of the stats that they put up or how far a player hit his drive or whatnot, that comes from ShotLink, is that right?
That's real time in our real time system. So that's fed to the networks.
Yeah.
So yes, what you see on television, either a pop-up or a graphic, is actually fed to the networks from this system real time on site or remotely.
Awesome. And then you said athletes and their coaches use it. So like if a PGA Tour player is working on getting their driving accuracy better, they can access this data and look at, you know, which way they may be hitting it more and kind of figure out, hey, 50% of misses are left. That's something they could get from this data,
Absolutely.
Is that right? Yeah.
Absolutely. At a minimum, actually, because what happens is, so I've been out here long enough, so players always had swing coaches, obviously. So in my era, I've seen the advent of the strength coach or the conditioning coach, and now players actually have stats coaches. They have people who mine the data for them.
There's numerous components to the system. Tell me about each one of those. I know there's some human element, there's lots of cameras involved, and then some other components. So tell me kind of broad kind of arrays of what.
So broadly speaking, you've got a network that has to be set up for the data to flow on, first and foremost. So that network is set up by one of our vendors, and it's, you know, pretty much the same every week, except for the golf course changes, of course. But you actually have a combination of fiber that's throughout the golf course, as well as wireless bridges. So that's the communication network. We also have a camera system which actually tracks the golf ball.
Okay.
So that camera system is set up each week strategically. Obviously, we have 3 at every green, but the fairway placements are very strategic because it's based on how guys will play the course. But keep in mind, the cameras are somewhat stationary. So you have to build it in a sense that what would be ideal today, if the wind blew 20 miles an hour tomorrow, they're hitting the ball 15, 20 yards farther down the fairway.
Yeah.
So it has to be somewhat strategic. So you have the camera set up, and then we also have radars that are actually tracking the golf ball, which is visually what everyone sees on most tee shots.
Yeah. When you show up to a golf course that is brand new, what are some of the kind of initial things that you guys look at in terms of what to do?
So, I mean, I can be as rudimentary as I need to be or general. So basically, it goes from where to even stage this setup, just to bring the trailers in that are needed to execute. So you get that set up. As far as the golf course is concerned, we actually have an approach that's we're pretty locked on it.
Yeah.
You know, we go from, we have redundancy in our fiber runs. Our power for our sensors that are on the golf course, we have a solar solution. So that's not as strategic as just knowing where we're going to place the cameras. That's done by our rule staff in conjunction with our rule staff. So if I had to sum it up, basically if it's a new course, we have to decide, okay, where's the compound going to be?
Yeah.
We get with our vendor to talk about the fiber runs and course access. And after that, we just actually apply our template of camera placement, our testing, our data flow through, and then we operate.
And then you're good to go.
I mean, that sounds pretty simple, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks very complicated. We're at Memorial Park Golf Course. Any quirks or things that stand out to you here in Houston?
No, and I mean, Justin might have a few, but not really. You know, actually, this course, I think, is more conducive, or I would say simpler, because it's not a like extreme layout. You know, like for example, not that it's a negative, but like 17 at Players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a golf hole.
Yeah.
But it's a lake.
It's more water than land.
Yeah. So, you know, you have some limited deals there that are challenging, like, because you can't put cameras in the water.
Yeah.
You know, so anytime you have water, it's challenged. So there are a few holes out here that have a bit of water around them. Yeah. But other than that, it's a neat layout, man. I love when we play public courses.
Yeah.
It just says a lot about the event, the town. You know, it's a neat deal. People think tour golf is country club exclusive.
Yeah.
There's some tough public courses out there.
Yeah, I grew up playing this course, and it's amazing to see it with the world's best golfers out here.
I love it.
Thanks for giving us kind of the rundown on the basics and not so basics of ShotLink, and I think we're going to talk with some other folks now and get into some of the more technical details.
As much as you can get.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Justin, so I think we're going to see some things with you. We were talking with Donnie. He can give us the lowdown on what ShotLink is, what it's used for, all the data that you guys collect, and this is the technical side of things. So kind of walk me through what we're looking at here.
Yeah, so what we're looking at over here is basically me monitoring our solar power solution out there, and how much amperage those cases are using and how much of a charge the batteries have within them, and transitioning over to our cameras on the course and the views they have through the LiDAR that we've mapped with our drones and to our predicted points that we get from the radars from their shots all the way from tee through green. Moving over, this is the camera layout that we made coming out to choose, and our kind of generic arrows to kind of get a prelimmed idea of where we're going to point the cameras. And this down here is our tracker solution. Same thing TV uses and broadcast uses to follow groups along or to see shots and scorecards, leaderboards, all of the good data that's collected kind of gets presented in one nice piece we call tracker.
How many days in advance do you show up to, for example, this golf course?
8 days before the first round.
Okay. And then is that when the process of figuring out where the cameras goes starts?
Exactly, yep.
Okay. And what goes into that decision making?
Well, before I come out here, I use Tourcast Cast, which is a nice 3D rendering, augmented reality that shows all of the stats into there, and our course book, which gives all of the scatter chart of where everybody hit everything. And I come up with an idea of where I want to place cameras to capture as many of those as possible. And then you really can't determine, tree heights and widths until you really get out here and your feet on the ground. Come out and flag those spots, run around with the rules crew guys, and make sure those are all in great spots for them and it fits the competition standards that it needs to. And once that's approved, that usually happens 6 days before round one.
Okay.
And then we'll start building from there.
Really cool. So when I kind of initially walked in here, I saw little boxes in there, and I asked you what those were, and you said it was like some type of predictive technology. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so that's very cool. On the tees, and we actually have it on the greens as well. We have TrackMan radars,
Okay.
the mega radars we call them.
Yeah.
They're pretty big, and using that beam coming from the radar, it captures launch angle, ball speed, a whole bunch of different kind of datas. And using that, we can pump it into the software that we wrote, proprietary, it's ours, and it creates a predicted spot of where, okay, I think the ball's going to land within this area. And that's what we send out initially first. It gives an idea if it's going to be fairway or rough or anything of that sort.
Yeah.
But basically every ball stat you could think of that comes off once that impact comes, we can take all that and have a pretty good idea of where it's going to go.
That's pretty cool. How do you get your job?
Oh gosh, yeah. So I actually used to be a golf professional.
Okay.
And then I transitioned into technology and worked my way through systems administrator, all the way up from help desk to systems administrator. Worked in some, automation, PowerShell, Python, and then once you kind of have a jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing, you work it out and slide right into the chair.
Yeah, that's pretty cool because, you think of golf and it's a very beautiful and simple sport with a ball and a club and whatnot. And then if you're like really techie and nerdy and you want to work on that side of things, it's here for you and you can do that.
It's the best of both worlds, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
Right in your element.
Yes.
How cool is that?
You could probably see a smile on my face the whole time.
I did. I'm always in awe of the access you get for these assignments. It's so incredible. Too, it was also enlightening we were chatting as the story was airing, the gentleman who, keeps the grounds, Spiffy.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see once again how STEM is applied in all of these occupations that you really don't always give it much thought.
Exactly. I've played golf for years. I show up to a golf course and I didn't think turf sciences was a thing. You can go to school for it, study everything you need to know, and work on not only golf courses, but football fields and everything in between. And so look closer, and there's probably STEM involved, is what I've been learning myself through creating these episodes.
I love that. Out of all the individuals you spoke with, if there was one job you could assume, which role would it be?
It was going to be that last individual,
gentleman
just because they actually use AI. So like the moment a player hits the ball, they know where it's going to land and where it's going to roll and all of that. And that's using predictive technologies and AI and bringing it to the sport of golf. So I'm a tech nerd. That would be for me.